Right, at 11:02 a.m., we will jump right in. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's an honor to welcome you to the inaugural day of our CAV Canada virtual series, the 5th annual Connected and Autonomous Vehicle Conference hosted by AreaX.O, operated by Invest Ottawa, Canada North Tech Park, the largest of its kind in Canada, in partnership with CAVCO. My name is Sonia Shorey, and I have the honor of serving as the Vice President of Strategy, Marketing, and Communications for Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency here for Canada's capital for knowledge-based industries, and Bayview Yards, Ottawa's one-stop business acceleration shop. We are so proud and excited together to host this very special event with you today. The health and safety of our participants and our community is, of course, our top priority. We would like to thank everyone for following the important guidelines and protocols established by our health authorities in support of these shared goals and to proactively work together with you to help fight the pandemic. We are excited to present the first digital event series we have hosted in our history of this kind and postpone our traditional in-person conference until 2021, when it is safe for us to come back together right here in Canada's capital. To support our community during this difficult time, and we know it has been a very challenging year, we are pleased to offer tickets today and for the entire series free of charge. We really want to maximize the value of the series, the speakers, the expertise they bring, and help stimulate new opportunity for all of our stakeholders here in Ottawa, across Canada, and around the world. We invite you to share this opportunity broadly. Please join us on social media. Take a peek at our website, cavcanada.ca. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, please join us and share this opportunity to help ensure that we can bring as much value as possible to colleagues right across the world. Registration is clear and it is on Eventbrite, and we would be delighted to welcome you to all of the sessions that we are hosting. Together with our partners, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of those who had taken the time to join us today. We are anchored here in the nation's capital, one of the world's top tech hubs, in a virtual event that is the must-attend conference for any innovator, organization, or community driving the safe development, commercialization, and deployment of CAVs. Today, we're launching our three-part series that will address key opportunities, challenges, developments in CAV R&D, innovation, investment, policy, and the impact that these novel technologies will have on our society. Over the next 3 weeks, at least, we will join you every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern for 2 hours of inspiration, actionable insight, safe online networking, and virtual engagement as a community. We're privileged today to bring top leaders from our region across Canada and around the world to you safely from our virtual stage here in the heart of Ottawa, Canada's CAV capital. Now, we know connected autonomous driving, connectivity, electrification, and shared mobility create immense opportunity. We know that you are all stakeholders in this sector and in these technologies. These innovations offer potential solutions during and beyond the pandemic. They will play a key role in driving our collective economic recovery. As you will hear firsthand over the next 3 weeks, there is truly great momentum and opportunity in this exciting field in a global market that is projected to reach more than $556 billion by 2026, at least. Anchored by Global BlackBerry CubeNX, Ottawa is home to more than 90 companies and organizations that are contributing technology and intelligence to vehicles of the future here in our region. Our top tech talent spans many entrepreneurs, SMEs, and multinationals here today who join us among our participants from every corner of our city, including the thriving cluster in Canada North and every part of our region. And we're delighted to welcome next generation innovators emerging from our post-secondary institutions here in Ottawa, Algonquin College, Carleton University, La Cité Collégiale, the University of Ottawa, and Willis College, together with so many others that join us from across Canada and around the globe. Leveraging critical support from the Government of Canada through FedDev Ontario, the Government of Ontario through the AV Innovation Network, and the City of Ottawa, our region is also home to AreaX.O, operated by Invest Ottawa, the futureplex of innovation and collaboration. It's a key differentiator for Canada and something we look forward to bringing the world. Our state-of-the-art facility offers a safe and secure environment to create, test, and demonstrate future mobility, autonomy, and connected technologies. Any innovation, any application, any sector, from smart mobility and transportation to telecommunications, smart agriculture, defense, aerospace, public safety, and smart cities, just to name a few. It's been an honor for Invest Ottawa to collaborate with our community on this private-public strategic initiative that really is focused on a critical goal: safety. Valued at more than $30 million, Area X.O leverages Ottawa's world-class telecommunications capabilities, including pre-commercial 5G from Nokia and Ericsson, proximity to policymakers, and of course, our true four-season climate. And if you are not joining us from Ottawa today, it has been a very snowy winter start to our day today. And that snow, sleet, and ice, it is truly a competitive advantage, and one that we hope will add value, not just to innovators in our region, but to many others around the world who come and leverage the capabilities at our facility. Together, we're accelerating the safe development, testing, validation, demonstration, and commercialization of disruptive technologies in a fully integrated vehicle-to-everything, or V2X environment. We know that testing and validation is critical to enhancing CAV safety. This is our driving objective, and it is a core part of our theme today. Together with many local, provincial, national, and global partners, we are truly achieving this objective and bringing new smart mobility innovations to bear for stakeholders around the world. And on the heels of today's CAV Canada opening, we are incredibly excited to explore and create new partnerships and opportunities that achieve shared goals with leaders that join us today and so many other organizations that we have the privilege of collaborating with around the world. And of course, we look forward to welcoming you back to our region and to Area X.O in the year ahead when it is safe to do so and we are on the other side of the pandemic. On behalf of Invest Ottawa, we would like to extend sincere thanks to the founding partners in Area X.O, and they include the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, the City of Ottawa, Accenture, BlackBerry QNX, Ericsson, Microsoft, Nokia, Ottawa's 4 post-secondary institutions, and of course, critical ecosystem support from our friends and colleagues at Canada North Business Association and CAVCO. The visionary investment I've just described builds on some key R&D expertise across Ottawa's CAV cluster and creating immense opportunity for those who join us today. A great segue into the focus for today's session. These include research, software data and analytics, design, engineering and manufacturing, safety and security, connectivity, autonomous solutions, sensors and IoT solutions, wireless and mobile technologies. There could not be a greater entry into our theme for today, the first series of CAV Canada. And today we will be welcoming leaders from across our region, across the province, and around the world. Let's take a peek at our program today as we move forward to the next slide. We are honored to welcome Zoltan Molnar, Functional Safety and Cybersecurity Manager with Novotel from the Autonomy and Positioning Division of Hexagon. A special shout out to Autonomous Stuff, a Hexagon company that is anchored with us at Area X.O. Thank you to Alan McCauley and all of our colleagues who work with us day to day on our objectives at the site. Zoltan will be delivering a keynote presentation today on how automotive functional safety and cybersecurity principles have now converged. This session will conclude with a Q&A session moderated live by my colleague Tanison, our Technical Project Manager at Area X.O. Our second program element today, moving forward, will be our keynote panel, Driving the Safety of CAVs, Testing in Turbulent Times. This will be facilitated by my friend and colleague, Corinne Bouchard, founder of Pure Logic IT Solutions, and engaging leaders from Area X.O, the Aurora Connected Vehicle Testbed at the University of British Columbia, Easy Mile, M-City at the University of Michigan, and Zenzik from the UK. We are so excited to have such an outstanding and esteemed panel of leaders joining us for this discussion. We will look forward to facilitating some further interactive Q&As at the conclusion of this session as well. We invite you to use the chat box to share your questions with us, and of course, we will address as many as we can. You will have the opportunity to continue your discussion with fellow participants during our online networking session at the conclusion of our program, so please be certain to stay and seize this opportunity and meet some of the incredible people who join us from across the world. And we were also wanting to promote our upcoming sessions. So this is just day one of at least a 3-day program. Please join us on December 2nd at this same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, where we will bring together some incredible leaders who will be speaking to CAV innovation and investment. And then on December 9th, we will have an opportunity to explore the impact of CAVs on society. I am so impressed and excited by the speakers that have joined us for all of our sessions, including today. They are not to be missed. So please visit cavcanada.ca for additional details, where we invite you to register for those follow-up sessions. And as I mentioned, all tickets, once again, are free of charge to maximize the value for you and others that we serve. Special thanks before we jump into our team at Venue Live for their powerful platform that is going to help us today to facilitate a productive and impactful conference experience. And without further ado, it is now my honor and pleasure to welcome our first speaker to the virtual stage, Mr. Zoltan Molnar, Functional Safety and Product Cybersecurity Manager from Novotel, the Autonomy and Positioning Division of Hexagon. Welcome.
Hello. So, welcome everybody to this presentation about the benefits of integrating cybersecurity and functional safety. I think we have a problem with the slides, or are the slides going? Okay, so thank you for the slides. And again, we will be talking about today about integrating cybersecurity and functional safety activities. Next, please. So my name is Zoltan Molnar. I'm the Functional Safety and Cybersecurity Manager at Novotel Hexagon, and we'll be your host for today. Next, please. Yes. Our discussions will be focused on, after a brief presentation of Hexagon's Autonomy and Positioning Division, with Novotel and autonomous stuff, and how do we enable connected autonomous vehicle advancement. We will talk about overview of some of the connected autonomous vehicle CAV challenges with respect to functional safety and cybersecurity. Some identification of integration points between these areas, and reusability and benefits of Hexagon's integrated approach to these analysis. So about Novotel Hexagon, located in Calgary, has over 25 years of experience with high precision multi-constellation GNSS positioning technology. And we are bringing in a very strong safety case for the automotive industry with respect to GNSS positioning that is based on our experience in the aviation, being the supplier for the FAA for positioning. And we have industry leading sensor fusion and a correction service serving various industries with global coverage owned by Hexagon. Our software positioning engines are working with third-party and low-cost receivers, and our resources as far as antenna design and engineering support, they all help our customers integrate GNSS positioning into their applications in a very seamless manner. You can see some of this in the R&D vehicles provided by autonomous stuff. An example of our collaborations can be seen here, where Novotel enabled Valeo to integrate high precision GNSS positioning into their CES demo vehicle, which was quite a success. Next, please. And let's present autonomous stuff from Hexagon, enabling and accelerating deployment of autonomous development by bringing together products, engineering services, and data intelligence with thousands of customers worldwide. And we are proud to announce the latest location of autonomous stuff in Ottawa. We can show in the next slide. Please. We have garage space, office space, private and public test tracks with paved roads to enable testing and validation of CAVs. And the choice of Ottawa wasn't a chance. It's due to the great proximity to engineering talent and bounding opportunities for open autonomy development. So let's see a couple of these challenges that the connected and autonomous vehicles are facing with respect to functional safety and cybersecurity challenges. Complexity for autonomous vehicles, it's huge. There is a complex sensory input. We have to deal with robustness and validation of machine learning algorithms, mixed human and autonomous driving environments and scenarios, and multiple hazard triggers occurring in the same time with no human in the safety loop. So nobody to make decisions instead of the machines. On top of this, the connected autonomous vehicles have to solve many issues with respect to cybersecurity, like management of complex connectivity methods, mitigation of connectivity outages and their effect on functional safety, and the large cybersecurity attack surfaces. Mitigation of cybersecurity risks with respect to their effect on functional safety, it's truly a concern for these applications. Compliance is also non-trivial because there is a need to apply multiple relevant functional safety and cybersecurity standards simultaneously. SOTIF, ISO 26262, 21434, and others. It's like a whole host of standards to be met. Next, please. So what can we do to address some of these challenges? Well, FUSA analysis, like functional safety analysis, must consider effects of intermittent or unavailable connectedness, intentional alteration of sensory data, and more than two potential simultaneous faults. The traditional dual point fault analysis may not be sufficient for connected vehicles. And also we have to understand functional safety risks due to potentially realized cybersecurity threats and build layers of protection with independence in sight. Functional safety and cybersecurity protection layers should be independent of each other. Efficiently managing documentation of the analysis is an absolute must given the fairly complicated certification environment. Next, please. So a brief overview of functional safety activities and cybersecurity activities on the next slide when we get there to kind of understand what we deal with. Based on ISO 26262, we would have item definition with identifying functions in a vehicle, the interfaces and interactions of these functions, so that we can do a hazard analysis and risk assessment to identify all the hazards or most of the hazards that can cause harm, followed by all kinds of safety analysis throughout the development process, like FMEAs, fault tree analysis, dependent fault analysis, and really at the source code level, static analysis, and not shown on here, but not least, fault injection for verification activities. very similar stream for cybersecurity activities, and that's not by chance. The cybersecurity standards 21434 is harmonized with ISO 26262, so we can see a feature/item definition that defines assets to be protected, data flows, boundaries, so that we can do a threat analysis and risk assessment, and then to identify the threats that can be considered in hazard analysis, and then can drive then identification of protective measures, further analyzed through the development process by with vulnerability analysis at every level, supported by attack trees, very similar to fault tree analysis, attack tree analysis, and then static analysis at the source code level. And again, not shown here, but not least to mention pen testing, penetration testing, as the verification activities. So, given the harmonization of functional safety and cybersecurity standards, and the similarity of the similarity of these activities, we can envision a parallel execution of these analysis streams and identify some possible integration points. We will spend some more time on these integration points, but basically the idea is that vulnerabilities can trigger failures, and then and threats can trigger hazards, and then the coverage that we achieve either on functional safety or cybersecurity static analysis may be providing cross coverage between the areas. So let's see a little bit on the, let's talk a bit on the details, just skimming the surface here. So between item and feature definition in the functional safety and cybersecurity areas, the item definition as per the autonomous, the ISO 26262 functional safety standard is about identifying vehicle level functions, the systems, and the interactions between them. And this should be input to the cybersecurity scope definition to identify the assets and determine the trust boundaries for the analysis, and to identify the data flows. So these two activities, they occur both in a similar time and can feed each other. So by item definition feeding into feature definition, functional safety work into the cybersecurity work. Next, please. So once we have the vehicle item defined and the both from a functional safety and cybersecurity perspective, we can do a threat analysis and risk assessment, and then do a hazard analysis and risk assessment in a parallel manner. But ultimately, these would have to be brought together, because traditionally hazard analysis and risk assessment deals with hazards due to malfunctioning within operational situations and what harm it may cause. And now we would have to consider the hazards that are due to realized threats from the threat analysis and risk assessment in those operational situations, and the harms that they can cause. Right? So occurrence may be severely affected by joining the two domains together. When we talk about safety and vulnerability analysis integration, typically in the safety analysis, we see like a fault, failure, hazard, progression, or linkage. Now, in the failure analysis, we may have to consider new failure modes due to direct interaction with vulnerabilities. And so basically not just statistical faults, but also malicious vulnerabilities can cause failures. And also some of the diagnostics coverage for failure modes that we claim in our analysis may have to be lowered due to vulnerabilities identified in the safety mechanisms. So consideration of independency of the safety mechanisms from those of the cybersecurity measures is essential. Next, please. An interesting topic would be, we can talk about this for hours, it's the functional safety fault tree analysis and the integration of it with cybersecurity attack trees. Basically, an attacker's goal, a malicious attacker's goal may be either to induce failures and faults, or to circumvent some of the safety mechanisms. And this should be modeled and can be modeled in several ways. We can see on the left that if we have a fault, then both the fault and the safety mechanism has to fail in order for the failure to occur. When the attacker tries to induce a fault, then the fault or the attack has to succeed, and then the safety mechanism is kind of like the last gate stopping it to propagate to a failure. And when the attacker tries to basically circumvent the safety mechanism, then when the fault should occur, and both the either the safety mechanism or the the attack has to succeed in order for the failure to occur. So this is very interesting. It is expected that the cybersecurity measures are within the attack tree and only the top goal of the attack tree to be shown in the fault trees. Okay, next, please. So going down more onto the verification side of things, especially like at source code level, there are coverage, test coverage requirements like statement coverage, branch coverage. And what's important to note that both the ASIL, like the safety integrity level, and the cybersecurity assurance level should be considered when determining the test coverage requirements. We can see that, for example, a lower ASIL, if the cybersecurity assurance level is high enough, then we may have more requirements around branch coverage. So not least, as I said, the fault injection and penetration testing topic is also very important, because we said at the fault trees that the goal of an attacker may be either to inject a fault, or it may be from a safety perspective to inject a fault or to circumvent safety mechanisms. Therefore, it's very important that penetration testing should target both of these. So pen testing should target both injecting faults and circumventing the safety mechanisms. This is very, very good guidance for the pen testing teams as to what they should try to achieve. Okay, so how reusable these integrated analyses are. So as we reach further from the application level analysis, more likely is that parts of it can be reused actually. So for example, an attack tree analysis of exploiting, let's say, a CAV vulnerability for a given protocol like CAV vulnerability may be reused very well by just changing the attack goal. Like the attack goal may be different for an agricultural vehicle, an airplane, or a drone, or a road vehicle, but the analysis itself could be reused. So I would say that if reusability is of concern, then we have to keep the analysis modular, and then make sure that they are that we keep the different aspects separate. So don't mix availability with safety and cybersecurity. So these analyses are modular, but we have to connect these analyses through cause and effect relationships. So we can have the different events that are analyzed in details in different analysis, and then have them connected by cause and effect. So next, please. What are the benefits of integrated safety and cybersecurity management? I mean, the compliance can be reached in many ways. There is no one good way or the way, but the Hexagon's integrated approach offers as a benefit completeness, because effects of cybersecurity on functional safety is considered. Timeliness, because both of these aspects are considered in each phase of the development, not as an afterthought. And effectiveness, because there's less rework of artifacts due to timely consideration of all of these aspects. Not least is strengthening safety and cybersecurity culture. It's a big thing. When the development teams identify interactions between these domains with the integrated approach, then the value of these analyses is increasing. So engineers have to see the value in order to have a strong culture, and this integrated approach truly supports that. So how we do it at Hexagon? Well, Hexagon's integrated safety and cybersecurity management, and we have very effective tooling of it, and we have cross-functional teams that participate in all of these, and we have continuous internal and external assessments with respect to each of these standards, like ISO 26262, ASPICE for software quality, and 21434. Even that is in a draft state, we are considering it. So that would be my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and let's see if you have questions in later.
Well, thank you so much, Zoltan, and I am honored to introduce our moderator for our open Q&A, Panelists. He is our technical project manager and engineer at AreaX.O. He's just joined us in the last few months. It feels like you've been with us, Tanison, for years. That's how quickly you've jumped in. We'd be delighted to have you facilitate. I'm going to hand the baton to you to engage with our audience and with Zoltan.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome, Sonia, and thank you for that presentation, Zoltan. Very informative. So we have a couple of good questions here. So I would like to start off with the trolley problem. So a lot of people in this field are aware of the trolley problem. It's built upon ethical concepts of action and consequence. And in today's world, the most relevant form of this concept applies directly to the development of autonomous vehicles. So do you believe as innovators and engineers, we can get past this hurdle and develop autonomous systems that process and make decisions the same way as a human can?
As a human can, probably not, but as a law-abiding human, maybe. So what I would basically, what we have to consider is that whatever system we come up with, it has to basically apply all the rules that the driver applies. And then we also have to accept that with human drivers, there is some uncertainty. So the machines will, even though they abide by all the rules and apply all the rules of driving a car, there will be situations where there is a random outcome. And this has to be accepted. Similarly, as we accept that a human may make mistakes, we will ultimately have to accept that, yes, we trust our lives to machines, but they can make mistakes too.
Thank you for that response. So we have a question here from TJ Misra of Genbu Technologies. What's your opinion of how fault reporting will interact with the insurance industries that surround automotive? Do those industries have weight in the evolution of CAV diagnostic decisions?
Yes, I think fault monitoring and logging, and also cybersecurity. I mean, for cybersecurity, one of the biggest things is monitor, log, so that you can react early for attacks that succeed on the field. Similarly, for safety, because none of the safety mechanisms are like 100% reliable. There is always there a bit of uncertainty as well. Logging and keeping track of why potential issues on the field happen. Yeah, that I'm sure will be used by the insurance industry and the autonomous and the OEMs and everybody involved in putting these machines on the streets. So, yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, how is the criticality of a failure assessed? For example, hacking a vehicle's iTunes playlist versus disabling the braking system.
This is a tricky one because hacking the iTunes player may seem, like not too big of a deal. And as soon as you see a braking system, then it's like very critical. But we have seen, for example, in the Chrysler hacks that basically by hacking into the head unit, into the enter training unit, you may gain access to other systems. So every threat shall be analyzed, and the possibilities of taking the next step for an attacker has to be analyzed. So yeah, okay, the criticality of hacking the music player maybe not that bad if we analyze and determine that from there is no second stepping into the other buses or other systems of the vehicle. So this is not just that was the primary target. With cybersecurity, we have to think of secondary targets, third targets. That's why attack tree analysis is so important. It's building the attack, and the ultimate goal is cause a failure, take control of the vehicle, circumvent safety mechanisms. This will never be a one attack step or a one step attack. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a question from David Knox from University of Ottawa. It seems like FMEA might be okay, except the likelihood of failures or the likelihood of their detection could be very different for deliberate faults. Does this make traditional failure analysis methods inappropriate? I get the causal analysis value, but not the criticality relationship.
Very frankly, as a safety manager and when I'm looking at FMEAs with the scope where the scope is functional safety, I don't pay too much attention on the RPM numbers. So because those are the truly subjective or the subjective part of the process. It's more objective when we build the failure nets and the cause and effect relationships. But the RPM numbers, those are subjective to a certain point. And when you consider stuff like intentional, malicious attacks circumventing some of these, then truly these numbers are guidance maybe for the team of what to address first and what to address later. But to me, everything that's in an FMEA has to be addressed, regardless of the RPM number and criticality. So don't spend too much time on it. Spend time on creating good failure nets and considering all the aspects. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your insight, Zoltan. I have one more question here regarding Hexagon. So Hexagon is a leader in this research and in testing field. What's the next step for Hexagon, and what partners need to be engaged?
Well, first with the partners, like we are engaging with everybody who's interested in applying high precision positioning into their applications. Our team can truly help integrating this technology for them. And then for us, for next step, for us, it's basically we will be providing a software positioning engine that is certified to ISO 26262, to cybersecurity standards, that's developed to the highest software quality standards in the automotive industry using ASPICE, and make sure that we provide a solution, a positioning solution for our customers that can be used as a trusted sensor in the vehicle for their autonomy applications.
Thank you for that. I also have one more question from Sabrina. She works with teenagers to help them begin career planning. And most of them have no idea about this industry since it's really new, relatively, and what opportunities there are present. So what advice might you have for teens that are looking to enter this field?
Well, ethical hacking is a great thing first. So it's exciting for teenagers, and it will become in the next decades a big challenge to not only have safe but also secure vehicles with millions of these things roaming around. We will need people who guard us. So think of hacking, but for the good cause, not for the bad cause.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your insight, Zoltan. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zoltan and Tanison. Excellent start to our first day of our CAV Canada virtual series. It's a pleasure to work with the team at Autonomous Stuff by Hexagon at our site at areax.o, our global expansion team working closely, I know, with you and your colleagues, and very excited to have you creating new capability in our ecosystem. So thank you very much for joining us. We are now going to move into the second program element of our day. We are going to be launching our keynote panel, Driving the Safety of CAVs, Testing in Turbulent Times. And it's my honor to introduce our moderator for this session, Corinne Bouchard, founder of PureLogic IT Solutions. At PureLogic IT, Corinne and her team provide IT solutions with infrastructure, application, and security focus. As the founder, she has successfully grown this company in 10 years from 1 employee to 16 and established operations, sales, marketing, accounting, and technical service capabilities. She was nominated for Oakry's Next Generation Exec in 2011 and honored with a 40 Under 40 award that same year. She's an accomplished leader in our CAV and broader community and a good friend to Invest Ottawa. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Sonia. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, thank you. So I think just to kick everything off today, we've taken a look at some really innovative technologies across not just Canada, but North America, as well as the US, the UK. And we're really taking a look at what kind of critical roles and testing need to be done in the R&D side of the house, looking at all the innovation and commercialization of this for safe implementation for these technologies. We have a panel guests that are very esteemed that encompass both university researchers as well as some technology from the UK and private industry. So today we're going to take a look at key considerations on critical success factors within the CAV. We're going to take a look at cybersecurity and collaboration. And thank you very much, Zoltan, for your information earlier today. A lot of factors around cybersecurity and considerations around ethical hackers that you mentioned earlier moving forward. We're going to talk about the stories. So each of the site's stories and what they're actually seeing and doing and accomplishing. And in fact, we're going to look at a storyline that goes out to 2030 and the information and technology considerations that we'll need to do for the CAV. As well, we're going to ask you to put some questions into the chat, into the question box at some point as well. And we'll get to that at the end of the panel today. So I'd like to invite all of our panelists to the stage. If you don't mind coming in, that would be great. Okay, so everybody is joining here. I'm going to ask everybody to introduce ourselves. We had a quick change today from Mike Tremblay from Area XO. We also have James Holmes from Easy Mile. We have Dave Michelson from University of BC, and I think he's just about to join us here on stage. We also have Hugh from University M City in Michigan, and we also have Daniel Ruiz from Zenzik, which is also about to join us here on stage. So as everybody is joining us here today, a warm applause for everybody to come together. And what I noticed in the preparation for today's call is everybody has a uniquely different story. And I really want to understand, both from speaking and also some of the presentations that were prepared, what is your story? How is it unique to the CAV industry? How can you actually contribute? What is your organization doing? And we're going to talk about some futures, etc., moving forward. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer to go ahead and start first. And I'd like you to introduce everything. I know, Joseph, you've got a bit of a presentation that you want to go through. So I'm not sure if the smile equaled a volunteer there. I'm thinking it might. But if we can bring up maybe Joseph's presentation, then we'll be able to get you to tell us our story. Thank you, Joseph.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. That was a very easy volunteer exercise. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where the world you're dialing in from. My name is Joseph Holmes. I work within the business development team at Easy Mile. Our North American headquarters today is in Denver, Colorado. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure for us to be on this discussion. Next slide, please. Okay, so really in this very brief, very quick overview of Easy Mile, I think the important thing just to really drill down here on is the fact that Easy Mile is a software company at heart. We do not manufacture our vehicles. We leave the experts to do that. So developing those partnerships with the key OEMs is absolutely at the core of our business. And then on the same side, working with the operators. So for example, the transit operators, private developers, all of those people to do the day-to-day for the vehicle and the software itself. So that's really where we sit in the ecosystem and on the chain. With the next slide. So yeah, as I was saying, for North America today, our headquarters is in Denver, Colorado. But we are by nature a French company. Our headquarters is in Toulouse, France, which being in an innovation hotbed, sharing the same city with companies such as Airbus, is an absolute thrill for us. It also makes working in Canada pretty good with the great transatlantic relationship between France and Canada. So that's key for us. Each one of our locations, each place where we've set up around the world has always been as a result of the demand for the technology in each area. So each kind of dot there you see is where we've just seen exponential growth to justify setting up a support team, sales team, and for example, in Singapore, we've just set up a research and development team for deep learning with our technology. Just some facts there that I don't necessarily need to go on, but we are proud to have the most deployed shuttle in the world with about 150 vehicles now manufactured around the world. And we are a privately held company with strategic stakeholders such as Continental and Alstom. Next slide. This is just a very brief overview here of just some of the partnerships that we've developed. Our EZ10 on the left-hand side there, arguably our flagship product today, the product that we just showcased in Ottawa for our project there, is our EZ10 vehicle. It's about a 15-passenger shuttle, really designed for that first and last mile, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And next to that is our other real key flagship, is our basically our autonomous tow tractor, which is a great application for airports where they're just doing the same route day in, day out. But things get very exciting, especially within Ontario, when you can actually use this application within the manufacturing warehouses, manufacturing plants, moving, for example, engines from one line to the assembly line. Things get very exciting with that technology. And definitely here are some of their other products, which we can go into a little bit later. Next slide, please. Yep, and here, these are just some of the deployments, some of the dots there. Recently, we've just started a project in South America, so that dot all the way in the south there is Chile, which is certainly a lot warmer where I am speaking to you from today. Next slide, please. And then very briefly, yep, this is the flagship today, the EZ10. It's kind of a cute little vehicle. It's been likened to a toaster when we were in Ottawa. Yeah, it's really designed for that first and last mile. Top speed is about 15 to 18 kilometers an hour, and it's really designed to run on a pre-programmed, pre-mapped route. So we don't need any additional infrastructure. Everything is localized directly to the vehicle. And my final two slides. Next slide, please. And this is the Tracked Easy, the autonomous tow tractor. Can tow up to 25 tons, so it certainly is a beast in its own right. But yeah, it's fantastic for both airports and manufacturing plants. And then last but not least, the final slide is, yeah, we're very proud of what we've done, over about 600,000 kilometers of autonomous driving. We have a clear safety roadmap. Some of the conversations we're having earlier about ISO certification, we are actually the only autonomous vehicle company today with an ISO certification of 9001, and we are working towards implementing ISO 26262. Which again is unbelievably proud to be a part of that movement. And yeah, it's just a little bit more of an overview there of EasyMile, but really looking forward to the opportunity. And thank you all again for inviting me along.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Joseph. From Denver, I'd like to go all the way over to British Columbia. Dave, can you introduce yourself and go through your story, please?
Absolutely. So I'm Dave Michelson. I'm a professor at UBC. I'm director of the Aurora Connect Vehicle Testbed, and very glad to have an opportunity to share what we're doing at UBC with the group in Ottawa. So our principal sponsors for Aurora, when originally set up, were Transport Canada and the BC Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Aurora 2.0, which we're currently in the process of deploying, has been sponsored by the Canada Foundation for Innovation as part of the Clean, Connected, and Safe Transportation Testbed. So we're not just about connected automated vehicles. We also, our colleagues are involved in renewables for transportation, low carbon fuels and technology. Our work in hydrogen fuel cells is quite noteworthy, as well as smart city design. And of course, Rogers Communications got involved with us about 2 years ago, and it's established a 5G hub at GBC, and that's been really key in bringing together a large contingent of municipalities, large enterprises, small and medium enterprises, and startups that are contributing to Aurora 2.0. So what is Aurora 2.0? Well, we could look at this aerial view of the campus, and we have a fairly large campus at UBC located outside the city of Vancouver on Point Grey. And the red area shows where most of our connected vehicle infrastructure is located. But that really doesn't tell the story of what Aurora is all about. We could zoom in and take a close look at some of the infrastructure at a typical intersection, the cameras, the roadside units, the traffic signal controllers, but that's not really what the testbed's about either. Now, this is the layout that shows what Aurora 2.0 is going to look like. We've, in fact, just yesterday got the streets and landscaping permit to proceed on the next phase of construction. So we're pretty happy about that. We can see the blue dots corresponding to the BC Ministry of Transportation. We've got various places where we're installing or upgrading intersections, installing millimeter wave hardware. It's going to be a pretty nice setup when we're done. And a nice segue from the previous talk, we're also preparing for an EasyMile shuttle trial at UBC in 2021. And we've got 2 routes mapped out, and that should be pretty exciting. But really, the successful testbed accelerates innovations. We've thought very carefully, very closely at other testbeds to figure out what it is we need to do in order to be successful. The company conclusion is not about bolting boxes on bulkheads, as they say. It's about identifying, socializing, and resolving issues. So for this reason, we've paid a lot of attention to diversity. We've made sure we're attracting diverse communities. So not just academia, but government industry as well, all have to be present. If one dominates, then we lose a lot of value. Diversity is important. We might share that our participants are diverse. Large, small, and medium enterprises and startups all have different strengths that they can bring. And we need to have a diverse community there. We've been very good about that. Rogers has been a huge help in making sure that we're building that diverse community of participants. But we also need to have diverse roles, and that's one of the things I like about having Aurora on the UBC campus. We can do research, but we can also do pilots, and we can also give Aurora an operational role. So our friends in campus community planning are starting to make good use of the data and other facilities that we brought to bear. And this lends a little bit of life to a test bed. It doesn't happen if it's isolated and operating standalone on its own. We also recognize the outcomes of a test bed are not just test results, but ultimately we have to measure them against technology standards and even regulations. One of the things we want to do is identify issues, and that doesn't mean problems with technology, but it also means supporting the development of standards and, importantly, helping our friends in government understand the impact of regulations before things actually achieve the open market. So we believe that Aurora is achieving a lot of this, and of course we're looking forward to being part of this community of test beds in Canada that the National Research Council is bringing together. So just a quick snapshot of some of the stuff we've got out here. Our research intersection currently in development will be an off-road site for teaching and research, all the things that we can't do at public intersections, but it's only part of what we've got. Of course, we've got lots of stuff on major public roads, and we've got lots of traffic in and out of the campus, so great place to set up this sort of stuff. We've got things as mundane as instrumenting some of our parkades, and there's a lot of traffic in and out of campus once we're going to be back in session after the pandemic has been resolved. And of course, this is a view, aerial view of the campus showing we're located in Vancouver. And importantly, as many of you are aware, we're not located in the city of Vancouver. This is unincorporated land administered directly by the province. Because we're self-contained, we can do a lot of stuff that we couldn't do if we were part of a city municipality. Lots of students, lots of faculty and staff, lots of average annual daily trips on all four main routes, large main campus, and a large university neighborhood with a lot of permanent residents, over 11,000 and growing. And of course, we have room to grow off campus. Part of the reason we were established was because we're part of the Asia Pacific Gateway and Corridor. We're close to port facilities, border crossings, intermodal transfer points. And even right now, we're in discussions with various groups about how we're going to take some of our Aurora activities off campus to some of the facilities in Vancouver, port facilities, border crossings, and intermodal transfer points. So there's my contact information. So I look forward to hearing from some of you and seeing how we can establish cross-Canada collaborations through Aurora.
Great. Thank you, Dave. I certainly just learned a lot about Vancouver and UBC and the work that you're doing. I thought that was really interesting. From Ottawa, we don't always. At this point, I'd like to go across the pond. We're going to go over to Zenzik. And Daniel, can you please introduce yourself and tell us your story?
I can. Hello, Daniel Ruiz. I am Chief Executive of Zenzik. Zenzik is a coordinating hub for connected and automated mobility in the UK. Just checking you can hear and see my slide.
We can hear you, Daniel, and now we can start to see you. It looks
Great.
like I can see a drop. Yes, that looks good. Thank you.
Good. In which case, I will carry on. So, I'm Daniel Ruiz. The two concepts I want to major on today are collaboration, which builds on what David was talking about in terms of diversity, and interoperability. And I want to say that despite the many negatives, I think the current disruption, which is an understatement, presents us with an opportunity, and that's the opportunity to reinvent and redesign rather than be forced to compromise. In my view, collaboration overcomes compromise, and it's critical to achievement of a substantially more effective and efficient transport system, which can then deliver an exponential improvement in safety, inclusion, productivity, and the environment. But collaboration is a word that's really bandied around possibly far too much. And to achieve our mobility goals, we actually need to do collaboration with both commitment and discipline. So Zenzik was set up because collaboration requires coordination. It was set up by the UK's government's Centre of Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, which has with a strong backing from industry to act as the hub for testing and development of vehicles, systems and services for connected and automated mobility, or CAM, in the UK. So it's three sectors acting together to transform transport, one coordinating hub and one ecosystem. And we then need to work on the interconnectivity between three more parties: users, infrastructure, and the vehicle systems. This is a game of numbers, and I'm an engineer, so I love them. we're just coming to the end of the first phase of targeted investment in CAM by CAV, the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles. That investment has three components. First of all, investment by government in shaping the regulatory environment, so the legislation, standards and codes of practice. Then a co-investment by government and industry together, matched in over 80 R&D projects, currently with some commercial programs such as a fully commercialised bus service over the Forth Road Bridge in and out of Edinburgh, and a robotaxi, or a couple of robotaxi projects in London and in Oxford. So these are real, almost commercial programs carrying real passengers. The third element is co-investment by government and industry in the world, what we proudly talk about, and I'll discuss the hyperbole shortly with the rest of my panelists. We call it the world's most interoperable, accessible and comprehensive testing and development cluster, or CAM Testbed UK. All this comes with a set of long-term goals which enable the players in the UK's ecosystem to play to their strengths. And alignment to those goals, a common set of goals, is in my view the absolute fundamental for effective collaboration. And it starts with alignment of the regulations, the R&D and the test beds. So what is CAM Testbed UK? Well, it's 28 different companies delivering testing services, 7 different locations within a 3-hour drive, which is large for the UK but small for the for your continent, I suspect. 6 complementary test beds, and they all form one interoperable cluster. A critical component of the initiative that we've taken, and a unique aspect of CAM Testbed UK, is the interoperability of the cluster. And by that I mean that ultimately it will be possible to start concept development at the control facilities and evolve through and between these and the semi-controlled environment, which is near Oxford, onto the heavily instrumented public domain environments in London, Europe's only megacity, and the West Midlands around Birmingham and Coventry. So we've got hundreds of kilometres of rural, urban and interurban roads. And on top of that, we've got an extensive and future-proof wireless and 5G network, which sits along various future mobility zones. So it's very broad. And the companies, I said 28, they're collaborating. They are constructors, they are contractors, they are research innovation centres, they're academic institutions, electronics companies and so forth. It's a very diverse ecosystem, which reflects the fact that this is about mobility. It's not just about autonomous vehicles. It's not just about the vehicle. That investment's gone quite a long way. It's a very dry table, but red, amber, green. The red in the right-hand column shows what we don't have or didn't have before the investment of £200 million by government and industry. The left-hand column with the teal green shows what we now have in the UK in this integrated environment. There are other centres around the UK which do complementary work, but I know we're going to talk about how you bring in everything and collaborate not just within country but around the world, because that would deliver a lot of potential. What this doesn't show, again, is the immense value that comes from making the physical and virtual capabilities interoperable. So we're doing investment in interoperable simulation. How can one model flow from one centre to another? How can one digital twin be used and then take forward the learnings into the next digital twin without having to recreate, rebuild and reanalyze? It's the customer journey that is important here. Now, interoperability is about pooling our recognised UK excellence in fields like cyber resilience. You have a capability as well. Let's share that. Interoperability is also about consistency of approach and common taxonomy, so that the words that we use. But above all, for me, it's about smoothing the customer journey without cutting corners. And the biggest corner we have to navigate is safety. And so one of the pieces of work we've done over the last year or so is develop a common safety framework so that you do your safety case once and it flows through all the other test beds. You do not need to redo it or reconsider it. I like a little heart from someone for that, which is great. That's a good example of collaboration. My third example and final example of collaboration in action is the coming together of the whole CAM community in the UK and actually some international contributors to produce the UK's connected and automated mobility roadmap to 2030. So far, 200 organisations, 300 people and one roadmap. And it is being used around the world, not just in the UK, to inform and shape strategies for organisations in the public and private sectors. I know it's being used in Detroit by some of the OEMs at board level. I know it's being used in Japan by their departments of business and transport to shape their strategies. So governments, corporates and SMEs in over well, in at least 4 continents that I know of. And I believe that it's used because it is by design objective. It's built on consensus, bringing together the findings from a number of foundation roadmaps from across the various sectors, and then inputting expertise that we've drawn from those 200 organizations, and then aligning it around a common goal, which is the pragmatic vision for 2030. So that means it's based on underlying principles, but it's got an aspiration within it to build on each other's strengths and then de-risk the whole venture for everyone's benefit. This statement is for the avoidance of the doubt. The roadmap is a tool. It's an evolving tool. It's for defining strategy. It's for making decisions. It's for making decisions about investment and policy. It is designed for end users as well as for government and industry. And it has to address all of those factors if it's going to be that strategic tool, the comprehensive strategic tool. This is what it looks like under the bonnet. And if you want to go on to zenzik.io/roadmap, you can actually access the interactive version. This is just a small subset of it. As I say, 600 relationships, over 500 milestones. What we've just done is establish how they are progressing, what progress is being made by our industrial partners and academic partners and government partners. So they've picked out the milestones that they are working on and said how much progress they're making and where they are struggling or what the dependencies might be. And that means that it is an even more useful tool for identifying what your path through it is to your goals. And I'm going to say there, leave you there with that last slide, which basically says if you want to contribute to the roadmap and put yourself on there as what we're calling CAM creators, then you can draw on the 1,600 data points that are in there and have been put in this summer. You can contribute your own, and you will be multiplying your investment in time, I would hope. If you don't, then please let me know. Thank you very much for the opportunity to broadcast what we're doing in the UK and with Zenzik. I'm really looking forward to the next few minutes of conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the UK down to Michigan, which you mentioned in your presentation. So we're talking about MCity here at the University of Michigan. And if you wanted to jump in, it'd be great to introduce yourself and show us your story.
All right, Corinne, thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be in this CAV Canada event. This is MCity, or I should say MCity Test Facility. We opened in July 2015. We are the first purpose-built connected automated vehicle testing proving ground. But MCity is definitely not just about a test facility. Similar to the UBC and also the Zenzik vision, we think that it takes a whole village to actually make progress in the new field of connected automated vehicles. So MCT Test Facility is, strictly speaking, just a laboratory at the University of Michigan. Of course, we believe in living laboratories, and I'll give you a quick pick, very similar again to the UBC vision. And we also support pre-competitive research. We think that there are a lot of room for confidential competitive research, but of course, there are also room for pre-competitive research. We actually work with 60 industrial company members, and we take their membership fee. We pull them together. We support pooled research. We also have tailored research, which is sponsored by one or a couple of companies. But also, very importantly, we think that it is important to continue to educate our students and impact many of them so that they can contribute to the development of CAVs going forward. All right, so this is a quick view of MCity. So we have a real testing going on. We also have simulations. We actually have 8 software companies that model a digital twin version of MCT. We also have 2 open source versions, the Kala and Sumo. Both have a MCT copy. In fact, we make some of our digital twin model available. Users such as from MIT, Stanford, they are using our digital twin MCT. So on the upper right corner, it shows one of the capabilities that are first and still relatively unique in the world. Not only we have real testing going on, we can simulate the presence of other vehicles, and we use a fully connected infrastructure that we have to make sure that a single test vehicle can simulate the interaction with dozens or even hundreds of other vehicles. We can actually fully control all the traffic signals. Basically, every infrastructure out there are connected. So this is a picture showing the full connected environment inside MCT. The whole name is actually MCT.OS. So we are envisioning the future that MCT, you can see, is a prototype smart city going forward. Every street lamp, every traffic signal, all the cameras, all the LiDARs, all the sensors that we have are fully connected, and many of them are controllable. We can control all the traffic signals, the railroad crossing gate. We can flick the pedestrian crossing signal, literally. So the whole smart city is fully connected. Not only this OS is inside MCT, there are also limited deployment outside in the city of Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor is still the largest connected environment in the whole United States, with more than 70 intersections, about 2,000 vehicles connected, and our MCT.OS is deployed in the city of Ann Arbor as well. We are also the first, level 4 shuttle deployment in United States on public roads with public traffic. But our goal is not actually to move people around. Moving people around is the means to an end. The end is to understand the user interactions and also collecting data. So you can see that we collect data. We have shared about 17,000 trips of this level 4 vehicle data with our members. We also collect a lot of data. So this is a picture showing the data garage we have. We have 49 completed. We are working on 20 more. So overall today, we can claim that we have about 69 different data sets. Some of them you can see are just a pointer to some of our member companies' contribution. Some of those are our own collection. We have been doing some data collection that is purposely built. So in this case, it's giving you examples of we're not just collecting data that is from the public roads. We actually design interactions inside MCT, and we collect these vehicles, we label the data, and we share the data with the researchers. Most important thing is that we impact a lot of students. So again, University of Michigan is big. We have more than 50,000 students, and we impact many of them. So the vision is that MCT will continue to be one of the leading organizations toward the future of connected automated vehicles.
Great, thank you so much. So our final presenter today is Michael Tremblay from Area XO. Kelly Days was going to join us, but had to switch it with Michael for a personal emergency. So thank you, Michael, for stepping in. And I think today you're going to be doing a presentation in terms of video first, and then we'll be able to jump in. So while we're getting that queued up right now, I'd like to remind everybody to please enter some of your questions into the question mark box here onto the right-hand side of the stage. And if we can queue up Michael's video, that'd be great.
There's a lot of tracks that do testing. There's not a lot of areas where the R&D is happening that leads to the testing. So when we think about what's here, we're not just thinking about cars. We're thinking about military vehicles. We're thinking about first responders that are helping to bring somebody to safety. We're thinking about last mile shuttle services that we can capture the imagination of the public. If you're looking at testing what's coming, that's why you come to Area X.0. Area X.0 is future ready. Area X.0 operates one of the most advanced communication test infrastructures in the world.
Companies in numerous sectors, including smart farming, have access to our GPS systems, 4G LTE, Wi-Fi, LoRaWAN, TV white space, 5G, including millimeter wave, and satellite communication systems.
The potential for the Ottawa Area X.0 site is endless, as are smart cities. We are just at the infancy of smart cities. This is just the beginning.
I know we're looking at bringing in, trains and rail stations, building a tunnel here. So they're really looking to the future to understand what does a city need to evolve and how can they make that happen here on site.
I think the objective for a site like this is to provide a platform where you can test and validate your solution in a contained and controlled environment.
Here at Area X.0, there's a huge array of capabilities and solutions. And one of the biggest challenges we see was how do we get that out to the community? How do we bring in the broader innovation centers across Ontario and Canada? And so with the development of the mobile Area X.0 command center, we can start to do that. We can bring the capabilities right into the local community and start working with small, medium businesses there to bring new solutions that address their local needs.
We work with the hardware companies, all the big names, the silicon vendors that you can think of, and then we empower these systems. So we're sort of that software foundation that again has to be safe, secure, reliable, 100% of the time.
Area X.0 is the futureplex of innovation and collaboration anchored right here in Ottawa, Canada's capital. We enable and accelerate the safe and secure development, testing, and application of future technologies. And we're founded on some of the greatest differentiators, expertise, and capabilities that Ottawa has to offer the world. As a global tech hub, we have the highest concentration of technology talent per capita in all of North America. Some of our internationally recognized strengths include cybersecurity and telecommunications. 90% of the telecom industry-led R&D that takes place in all of Canada happens right here in Ottawa. We bring all of these capabilities to bear with our industry partners here at Area X.0.
Being in an area that is snowy and the climate is challenging has really been beneficial in creating surprises of new technology and how we develop that. That's been quite amazing.
For us, coming to this site allows us to do testing in a much more cost-effective way.
There are a number of large companies here we can potentially work with to gain a foothold in different industries, and there are a number of smaller innovative companies as well.
It's a very collaborative environment, and not only are we being able to talk with people on site, the various companies that are here right now within this footprint, but we're working together on projects to bring across North America to showcase not just our company's technology, but collaborative technologies at work.
To have an opportunity to collaborate with such a great organization as Invest Ottawa at their Area X.0 site is just fantastic. We're there at the beginning. We get to learn with them. We get to learn with their other partners and collaborators. It's phenomenal.
I love innovation. I love technology. And I think that this site is really a model for us being able to have great technology come together. And then I think Ottawa can be a leader in this space towards Canada and towards the world.
You've got really all of the ingredients of a triple helix model. You've got government, academia, and industry together, and that to me is exciting. That's really why I think the future is very bright with Area X.0.
Okay, so we wanted to share the video because it actually showcases a lot of the work that we've done this past year since our last CAV Canada event. And I have to say, it also gives me a chance this year to see what everybody else has been up to this past year. And I have to say I'm very inspired by what I see happening by all of our panelists organizations. We had the chance to work with Joseph and his team with Easy Mile with a project that in our region was the first in Ontario to have a low-speed autonomous shuttle tested at Tunney's pasture on city streets. And I had no idea how much impact geese would have on testing, but guess what? Geese they really do create a problem. And when I look at organizations like M-City, I'm just very inspired with what is possible. The infrastructure, the capability, the integration with academia is just unbelievable. I had no idea how far, Daniel, you would have gotten this past year with your organization across the UK. Wow. also very, very inspiring. And I thought that we were relatively unique, but your center of gravity with mobility is actually how we see the opportunity with our region, because of how steeped we are with tech organizations with a heavy emphasis on telecommunications companies, which in some respects is as much the secret sauce for what we're doing as the weather is. So it's great to see how much progress is there. And Dave, with UBC, Rogers has been talking all about the activities that are happening with you and your colleagues, also very, very inspiring. So when I pan back and think about what the potential is and how Ottawa might play an interesting role, we're in a city that has a fairly dense tech community, which is really helpful. We're in a city that is dominated by government, regulators, policymakers. Also see that as a real opportunity to try things out. And we have a very, very strong capability with our post-secondary institutions, in particular with STEM community. And so when I see all of these things, I really do see an opportunity to do quite a bit with our partners around the world. As a company, we are an economic development agency. So everything that I've just described might seem really weird that we would be doing such things. But we see the potential of showcasing the very best of our region by illustrating them in these market-led ways. So when we think about projects and opportunities, we think about them in terms of market-led areas. Having grown up working with big tech companies, I'm always very fascinated with the technical side of things. But it's always better to be working on solving long-range supply chain problems than it is to pushing a tech solution looking for problems. And so from our vantage point, those are the kinds of things that we like to showcase in the work that we're doing at Area X.0 with all of our partners. So we hope that with the panelists here on the stage and with others watching, that we'll be able to tease out projects where we can illustrate the art of the possible in real world use case ways. I think I'll stop there, Corinne. I am very excited by everything that I've seen from the other panelists today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. So I think that we're going to be opening this up now to for the next 20 minutes or so for an open conversation. So thank you for everybody to introduce your organization, what you've been doing. Myself, from a Pure Logic perspective, we're a traditional IT infrastructure company that services the Canadian federal government and individual innovators and SMEs. What's been really interesting is, Michael, you touched on it in Ottawa here, specifically with government. How do we take government requirements and bring that down to that working level of that innovation, et cetera? And for us, it's been really interesting on how do we bring ethical hackers and technology together to increase the cybersecurity awareness and reduce the impact to all of your test beds, to the CAV industry moving forward, et cetera. So right now, I do keep encouraging. I see a couple of questions popping up here in the chat box. We're going to get to those in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, I wanted to open this up for an open discussion where we are seeing the innovation and commercialization within the CAV industry. How is your facility outside
in supply chains of a wide variety of industries. And so the best thing we can do is commingle them in projects with our small companies to help them to get lift in markets that they're interested in. That's a way better model than having them try to attack global markets, one global company and client at a time. It's just not efficient. So I like to say that in our region, we travel in packs, and we travel in packs in a very targeted way because our pack isn't that big. So we take on things that are very specific, and this particular one is one area of focus that we have.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Dan? Yes.
I'll second all that about commingling. I like that, Michael. And I'll shamelessly point at what's behind me on the screen. We've over the last 4 months been setting up a CAM scale up, and it's not just an incubator. Yes, we're doing it with plug and play because they know how to do these things. But what we're bringing and making it unique is saying that the SMEs that are wanting to be in our cohorts are not alone. They are coming to work with the test beds. So the test beds have as much of an interest, a vested interest in getting the best, most diverse set of SMEs to play as the SMEs have in coming and kind of taking their products and services through to the market. So it's got commercialization in there, but it's also got kind of a very tangible emphasis on testing and development right through into the public domain and commercial, the commercial world. So I say that is one answer to your question. The other answer is making sure that the regulatory environment is right, because an Easy Mile would have had this Aurigo, who are in your slides, Michael, a good British company. Not that we have anything against the French. The importance of being able to get organisations to come to test in the facilities and then go out onto the public roads and be able to do that painlessly, I think, is critical. There are enough blockers in the way to the progress in our field that we need to make sure that regulatory, the legislative, the standards, the code of practice are there and smooth the path.
Perfect. Thank you. One of the questions that we have here in the
Great question. For us at Easy Mile, it definitely is about striking a balance. You know, testing is something that we have to do within secure locations. We certainly never want to be in a position to have passengers as guinea pigs. So it's definitely splitting down the middle between hardcore testing. And you're absolutely right. This project that we did with Invest Ottawa at the Area X.0 site, I think was a great twofold approach. You know, we initially had a fairly thorough testing campaign, both on this private test track, and we actually took some of those learnings back to our private secure location in Toulouse. And actually, as during this project, we pushed a new update to the vehicles as a result of some of the direct learning that we were doing. So yeah, that's a great use case for us to do. And yeah, even though we certainly had our unique challenges to overcome, such as the weather, and as Michael rightly said, the geese, is developing those partnerships and clearly setting the expectations in line with the technology today, and then setting those clear criteria for success, which I think we did really well on this project. We clearly said, like, what are we looking to get out of this? How are we going to achieve this? And what are kind of the clear goals? It's just, for us in the Easy Mile, it's always about just two major things: setting the expectations in line with the technology and establishing those key criteria for success are, for us, the only way that our projects are successful.
Perfect. Thank you, Joseph. So I want to talk about data. We took a look at some of the presentations today that talked about data sets, how you're collecting the data and what you're using with it. So in terms of cybersecurity and using that data moving forward, I want to go to the two universities here, because you are doing a lot of research right now. And how do you suggest that we look at the data that you're collecting and use it for the CAV future? So Huey, if you want to talk to me about that first, and then we'll go over to data afterwards.
Sure. So I think data is a very sensitive issue. If we look at GDPR in Europe, we certainly don't want that in US or Canada. Sorry, Daniel. The basic idea is the following. So people need to understand that what is the purpose of collecting data, who has access, how do we oversee, and what is the benefit of if we have used the data in the right way, how can we generate benefit to the people? So I don't think we should just freeze because we are concerned about privacy, PII, cybersecurity. We should look at the future, the potential benefits. So everybody say data is the future oil. And the only way it will work is we set our sight on protecting privacy, security, but focusing on generating benefits for the society. A lot of our data are either collected by us ourselves or shared by our member companies. Many of them are in the public domain, open source data, and we focus on label them, organize them, and get them accessible to the researchers, for students to use them to understand how data works. So there are a lot of potential, and I think university can be the honest broker of data. A lot of people don't trust big companies or don't trust government. And universities, again, we need to set out a good guideline, and we can be the honest broker for data.
Perfect. Thank you. David, over to you.
Yeah, we found the same thing. The data governance is very important, and we're very fortunate at university. We have a diverse community to draw from that has a lot of experience in data governance, so which is very helpful. One of the things we found too is helping people understand how to get value out of the data. We find that a lot of our collaborators are logging and storing a lot of data. They have big data warehouses, but they're not really making full use of it. So understand the time skills or which data can be used and how to extract the data is also fairly important, because otherwise, as I say, we're quite surprised the amount of data that gets logged both in companies and government, but isn't actually ever used for anything. So helping extract the value of data helps to accelerate the conversation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I want to kind of shift gears a little bit. We have 4 different sites right now on the panel, and I want to talk about how do you become a specialist in your own domain. And I think, Daniel, you had a really interesting presentation about mapping out until 2030. But I believe that each and every one of you have an ability to do that. So with the 15 to 20 CAV sites across North America right now, what is your site doing specifically to really be specialized? And what do you think that the industry needs to do to embrace that as a whole? So anybody like to start?
Yeah, I could take a shot at it, I guess. Sure. So we came at this in a way that was a bit incremental. Like, we started off with delivering a project with Ontario Centres of Excellence and their Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network. We had this goal of focusing on what we thought we were building was a proving ground, and actually we don't have a proving ground. A proving ground requires repetitive testing and a whole bunch of capacity building to support that. What we have is we have a way of testing the hypothesis of different companies as they come in, using a lot of infrastructure investment that we've been so blessed to get from different levels of government. In fact, the City of Ottawa has been a heavy investor, the Province of Ontario, and FedDev Ontario, a federal agency. And so the marginal cost of actually testing those hypotheses is relatively low. And so this allows us to help companies at a burgeoning level to be able to prove out things, to come in, trial something very quickly, make the adjustments they need to make, keep going if they need to, or come back when they're ready to do something in the field. We use our acceleration services. I think Daniel talked about plug and play. We have the IO accelerator. So we have programming that allows us to intake companies, do a little talent spotting while we're at it, and then try to encourage companies along the way to be engaged in some of this testing. The ultimate, though, for me is around the projects that we form. I like the idea of policy hacking, working with the regulators, having them to tease out and work on things. In fact, our work with Easy Mile with Transport Canada was exactly that. Transport Canada wanted to observe what a company like Easy Mile would go through in terms of going through the process of actually running an evaluation and a public test, so that they could build it into their regulatory framework to make that process more straightforward for them while maintaining the safety and the security that they needed to provide to ensure the public was well protected. And so those are the kinds of experiences that we're looking for, because we believe the single best thing we can do for small companies is we can help them build references and we can help them to get a cash flow. So the 2 companies that worked with Joseph that we had brought in as SMEs, one is Auto Guardian, the other Ride Shark, both were funded to deliver their services as part of the project. and they got access to EasyMile and to the regulator. So it was a very good experience that way. So we think we can be uniquely differentiated by providing that hypothesis testing at low marginal cost, but experiences that are vertically relevant by teasing out projects that are bite-sized, but allow us to really, really take people, government, academia, and industry together on a journey that allows us to grow and build together. So that's what we're trying to do. So far, it's going pretty well.
I think that's really interesting because you're talking about the customer journey for a certain type of customer.
That's right.
And that hits the button for me because effectively there is a massive diversity of customers out there, from the product manufacturers, the sensor manufacturer, the vehicle manufacturer, and different types of transport operators operating in different types of transport environments in different parts of the world. So there's a wealth of customers out there. What we need to do, I think, is all of us aspire to deliver the best customer journey. And this is where the interoperability comes in. So in the UK, we believe what we have is a large number of facilities, very similar to the large number of facilities you have in the US and in Canada. But we turn them into a mega facility because they're all interconnected. Now, there's no reason why that interconnection can't go transatlantic. And we start to think about our customers and saying, well, there are things that they can do in Ottawa or in M-City or in British Columbia or elsewhere, but they can't do everything. And no facility will be absolutely universal. So what we want to try and do is make sure that they can deliver the safety benefits and all the other positive, healthy, social benefits. Yes, there's an economic and commercial benefit that they'll probably want to exploit as well, I'm sure. But those other things that are social imperatives, we can try to make sure that they can be facilitated most readily. So I suppose in a way I'm saying that that's what our USP is in the UK, but I'm also saying I want it to be a universal USP. Because the conversations we've just been having reinforce to me that we are becoming increasingly system and capability rich. It is more about how we deploy those systems and that capability. Even the data pieces, because part of Testbed UK is a data warehouse, a data marketplace, because it recognises the fact that we've got physical testing, virtual testing, but it's all about collecting data that turns into information and intelligence that helps us design, deliver better services.
Perfect. So, David or Huey, any comments on that at all? Anything that you see from your side?
Yeah, I can share some insights. So we always understand our limitations and our uniqueness. We are literally half a mile from the engineering college. We are very close to our students, and we focus on pre-competitive research. So when companies come in to do some testing at MCT, they are not doing the testing that's the critical needs for today or this year. They're thinking about testing for the future, for pre-competitive research, for education, for student engagement. And the results, the impact will happen in the future, not immediate. So the kind of testing happening here is probably very different from Area X.0 or other test facility, but still very critical, especially when we are educating our students. We understand that they will be future leader for the industry.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think the one thing we're finding at UBC is that a lot of the people that come to us, it isn't to use our test facilities. It's because they want to gain access to other players that have the capabilities to do stuff that they need to have in order to accomplish their goal, but they can't do themselves. So as they say, the best outcomes are the ones where you have a team that, you couldn't do it by yourself. Every team member had to compete, had to participate and had to contribute. And that's really to a large extent what's happening. They're not really after our test facilities. They're after that neutral ground upon which they can meet other people to collaborate with.
Great. Now, Joseph, I think you'd have a unique sense on this one because you would have your technology in likely almost every single test bed here. Anything that you're seeing blazingly obvious from the outsider, from the SME that's working with the test beds?
Absolutely. I mean, the conversations we've been having here are great. I think the key thing from EasyMile's perspective is, we're looking to committing mobility challenges and not just simply deploying vehicles for the sake of it. The last thing that we want to do is take people from where they don't want to go to where they don't want to be. So that's the last case scenario for us. We're a relatively small and new company, so our success really does depend on working with established partners and really learning from them. I just want to echo exactly what Michael was saying. Being the first project team to have our automated shuttles on a public road in Ontario was key. And I think what we've established with Invest Ottawa has just been huge, not really only for the province, but really for automated vehicles in Canada and the future successful deployments within this industry. So it's really leveraging that, I think, is key.
Perfect, thank you. I have a question here that was originally asked right when we started, and I think it really ties into talent and the lack of talent pool that we have, or we're seeing young STEM students kind of come up and bubble up and going to the university and stuff right now. Is there any advice anybody would have when looking for talent or trying to steer young minds or perhaps grow their companies and acquire these different talent pools? So anybody have any advice on that Michael, please go ahead.
To start, I'm encouraged by the academic presence on our panel, and we have Carleton University has one of the lab bays that is set up at Area X.0, so we're really looking forward to being immersive with that. But we have a talent team that helps to support recruitment for local tech companies. And part of the work we do is we look at helping to support skills migration and upgrading. And what I'm finding at our facility, and I'd love to hear from some of the other panelists on this, is because we have this incredibly physical project site where you can roll your sleeves up and really get immersed in the change. It is an inspiring environment. We're working on curriculum now to help support some of the skills transfer that is required, because the world of automotive specifically will never be the same again. And there's a lot of people that are in jobs where they're not sure exactly how they're going to migrate to the new world of work in whatever form that might be. And so we have been playing a role in that and have been developing with our industry partners, because it takes a little longer from an academic perspective to be able to make those adjustments. And so there is a role in that middle layer between what we do and what industry does in order to support skills transfer in a way that is practical and short term. I think that there's something there that these kinds of sites can provide a unique experience that goes beyond the books. And I really believe that that's an important area that we're digging into. We're quite committed to that aspect of our work.
Thank you. Anybody else want to contribute?
Maybe I can make a comment. So we know that explosive growth of progress made in real technology sometimes happen when you have real strong basic science and there is a very inspiring application, just like the Moonshot or Apollo project in the US is very important. So we never worry that University of Michigan doesn't have the best fundamental courses. We already have a lot of professors teaching excellent courses. So MCT's role is to make sure that we have autonomous staff vehicles, we have data, we have a test facility, we have real industry members coming to tell us what are the key questions, critical questions. With this, we keep telling our students, just making sure that you are eager to learn, you are eager to spend time. What we teach you here today is not important, but the right attitude and the thirst for knowledge will serve them really well. We always make sure that that's MCT's role. We present to them the critical question today, the equipment, the data, but also the attitude to be willing to learn for the lifelong learning.
I think very quickly, just to pick up on that, universities for Easy Mile are definitely at the backbone of our success around the world. Whether we're kind of deploying like a real service, exactly like we're looking to do with UBC, or whether it's a kind of deep research and development project, which we're proud to have with the University of Waterloo. It's having that future workforce, getting their hands on the technology, getting familiar with how it works, and actually pushing industry, pushing us to not only be better, but just for continual improvement is a really exciting thing. And I know, Michael, you said it during the video, and we've heard you say it a few times. It's that trio of academia and industry and everyone working together which is really, really exciting to be in this industry for the long-term future.
Thank you. I want to shift gears here. If I did not bring up the current world emergency of COVID-19 and the pandemic, I wouldn't be talking real life right now. And so we understand that there's a couple of really burning platforms in the world. So COVID-19 is one of them. We're seeing environmental as another. So as we look at these impacts, how do you feel that the CAV industry will be impacted short-term or possibly long-term with these two platforms? So Daniel, I know we spoke about this the other day. Why don't you go ahead and jump in for me?
Yeah, so those two burning platforms, there's a third one in the UK, which is called Brexit, or there's some other euphemism that is used by government. They don't like calling it Brexit anymore, but that's what it is. So we've got three burning platforms, and generally speaking, there are only three podium positions, I'd say, in any competition, which means the coming fourth doesn't count. And for me, CAV comes fourth, or appears to, because the reality is that connected and automated mobility, as I said in my little kind of speech, addresses the issues of safety and productivity and inclusion, and also climate change. So estimates say that with basic connectivity, you can improve traffic and reduce tailpipe emissions to the tune of about 20% without trying too hard. Now, it seems crazy for me not to be looking into trying to do that right now, while we can't spend the big money on some of the technology aspects that are more futuristic. And when I say futuristic, I mean 10 years away rather than 1 year away. So I am concerned at the moment because we've just had our spending review, government spending review announced today. There are some big investments in infrastructure, which is great. Most of the investment, however, is in dealing with the pandemic. Tens of billions of pounds, hundreds of billion pounds so far this year. So everything else pales into insignificance. And the feeling is that maybe we can put connected and automated mobility on the shelf, pause it for a year or so, and then come back to it. And the problem is, of course, that there will be parts of the world that are progressing their investment, their research and development, their implementation, and the UK and any country that presses the pause button will then be subject to other countries coming in saying, "Here you are, buy from me," which clearly is a medium and long-term disaster for the economy. So we're in a bit of a catch-22 situation. And my view, unsurprisingly, is that we should spend a tiny bit to make sure that we maintain momentum in this area at the very least.
Thank you. Yes, Michael, go ahead.
I might just add in a point that I get inspired by some of the companies we are working with. Certainly in our space, in the CAV space, it's certainly not at odds with environmental issues. It's actually an opportunity in many ways. I'll use an example. Like we have a company in our backyard called G Batteries, and what they do is they're working on creating the experience for having the charging time be similar to filling up your car with gas. Like, how long does that take? That's the goal. They're working on it. They're getting closer every day. And to me, those are the inspiring moments where we can actually enact societal change to make those shifts, those changes happen a lot quicker by getting behind some of these companies. And so I really believe there is an opportunity here to enact the change, to drive the change by helping to support the innovation in behind all of this.
Can I dip back into that though, Michael? Because I think what you just said is that batteries and EVs are keeping moving, and that's the same in the UK. So zero emissions is part of one of the three burning platforms of climate change. So that investment is going to be there, but but unfortunately, that still means that the work on, for example, telecommunications and connectivity, which can draw even more out. The way I think of it is that you can put a battery in a car and that car becomes more environmentally friendly, or that vehicle. But if you make every single vehicle on the road interact in a way which reduces stop-start, then the multiplier effect will be far greater than the very gradual uptake of electric vehicles.
Yeah, like companies like SMATS in Ottawa that do traffic queue management work. I mean, these are all opportunities. So I get excited by the companies that we get exposed to in the business that we're in, and trying to move them to the front of our portfolio, I think, is the opportunity we have for environmental sustainability.
Perfect, thank you. So we have just a couple of minutes here. We're going to wrap up a few minutes early today. There is an emergency alert test scheduled for Canada at 12:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to take just the opportunity here just to maybe have a final thought thrown in from each of you, if you don't mind. And I really want to take the time today to thank Canada North, Invest Ottawa, Area EXO, and CAVCO as our sponsors for today's event. So, David, I'm going to throw it over to you to see if there's any final thoughts.
So I guess we're finding that change is possible at a much greater rate than we ever thought, and that's one of the, I guess, probably the best things that's happened here in the last 6 to 8 months. So it's very exciting times.
Great. Joseph, your turn.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as we were kind of touching upon on that last little roundup, you know, we're certainly living in unprecedented times. But our project and our partners with, for example, Invest Ottawa here really go to show that projects during such crazy times we're currently living in are possible. And I think it's really full steam ahead, because I think the future in a post-COVID world has connected automated vehicles definitely at the heart of them. Yeah. So it's scary times, but it's definitely critical, I think, for the future, what we're doing.
Thank you. Hugh, over at MCity.
Yeah, so I think I'm very fortunate to be in the academic unit. We think that the technology is not it, but technology will play a very important role in making our transportation system safer, cleaner, cheaper, more equitable. And so I'm very glad MCT has been doing something for this field.
Perfect. Daniel, your turn.
Thank you very much for letting me speak today. I'd say everything that has been said I agree with. I would say if we're going to progress this year in particular, let's do smart work, low cost, high value. It's possible. And I get the feeling that all our organisations are really strong at doing that. So low cost, high value efforts to keep us going, to maintain the momentum and prove that we have what's up here that matters.
Perfect. And Michael, final word from you.
Yeah, you know what's swimming around in my brain right now is this idea of the team is the genius. And I think that what bodes well for the future is the opportunity to collaborate. I'm very inspired by the panelists that were on the stage today, and look forward to engaging with you and others as we go after these markets. They're exciting markets. The opportunity is vast, and I look forward to engaging in that with all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, today for the panelists. I really appreciated being invited here from Sonia and the Invest Ottawa team today. I've enjoyed learning more about the CAV industry, talking a little bit about cybersecurity, data governance, understanding which each and every single one of your sites does, and then how do we actually commercialize that, take that innovation to market. So thank you again today. Sonia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Karina. I am so inspired. My brain is buzzing with opportunities that I think we have to come together as a global community. Outstanding best R&D facilities right around the world. Imagine what we could do if we harnessed all of our distinctive strengths and differentiators and pooled them to do something really impactful together. There are immense challenges coming out of the pandemic. There's also immense opportunity, and it's what we face as a global community, not as one individual region, organization, or team. Thank you so much for that inspiration and incredible insight. To all of our collaborators from across Canada and around the world, you can trust that we will be in touch with you as we continue traversing our journey here in Ottawa. As we wrap up our session today, please do mark your calendar for next Wednesday, December 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern. We will have an incredible session for you on CAV innovation and investment. And then again on the 9th to explore the impact of CAVs on society. Check out cavcanada.ca for details and get registered, please. I want to do a big shout out and thanks to the core team and to the collaborators that join us in making today possible. Of course, our friends at Canada North Business Association and and CAVCO. You will hear directly from Jamie Petton, who is Executive Director in Canada North, and Barry Kirk, Executive Director of CAVCO, in the subsequent sessions, and the teams that have really come together to make this possible. Jessica Ward, our event producer, Patrick Kenny, our Director of Marketing and Communications, and Adam Keshavi here at Invest Ottawa, together with collaborators inside KNBA and CAVCO and others across the region. We could not do this without you. We now invite you to have some fun. We are going to be doing our online networking. We are beginning that portion of the event now. Please ensure you click the button at the bottom of your screen when we move into the next room. You will be asked for access to your camera and to your microphone, and each connection will last about 3 minutes, and then you will be connected with someone new. This aims to help facilitate that online safe networking that we all miss and cherish in these types of events. We are trying to bring it to you today with the help and support of Venue Live. Thank you very, very much. We look forward to joining you again next Wednesday, same time, same place. Stay healthy and safe and enjoy your networking. Bye for now.